Hey everybody, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy. Alright everybody, for those of you that know the drill, I go over a bunch of comic books for the week that I chose to read. Now I didn't have time to read everything, so if I missed something you think I should have read, let me know in the comments below. Also, you may disagree with me on some of my choices. If that's the case, that's alright. Let me know below. Let's just try to keep it civil. My goal is to bring back the old schoolyard days, where we would be in discussing what hero could beat who or what comic book was good and not. And I come armed with my trusty notes so you'll hear the paper rattle because I do it a little bit old school. I do my grading on a scale of 0 through 10, 7 being average as a 70%. So I'm using schoolyard grading. But that's not all. I also use the League of Comics Geeks to give you other people's views as well as a brief overview of the comic book as well. So let's jump right in. Welcome back everybody to my weekly comic book review. So let's jump right in and start discussing some great comic books and maybe, well, some not so great. You might hear my notes. Also, I have a cat on my lap. Yeah, I have old Oreo here. Actually, I shouldn't say old. He's a pretty young one, so he tends to cause a little bit of issues here. I gotta get Charlie in here one of these days. Well, anyway, Batman Superman World's Finest issue number 33. 165 out of 175. Liked it with a 3.8 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, where I gave it a 7.4. Not a terrible score. Anyway, who did this book? Well, Mark Waid is the writer of it. Not a big fan of that guy, but oh well. Artist is Adrian Gutierrez, and Oreo's there causing some wiggling on my notes. Shows that these aren't edited highly. Okay, Oreo, leave my notes alone. He's a playful fella. Anyway, Eclipso's Reign of Terror has brought the Justice League to the brink of civil war. Yeah, Justice Society and the Justice League here, but there must be a way to break the spell. The answer lies within the very power source that allows Superman to race faster than a speeding bullet. It's battle for Earth's yellow sun and the dramatic conclusion of Darkness Falls. Anyway, it's a decent story with a, well, what can I say? It's an interesting cast of characters, but that's the thing there. We have the Justice Society and them and the World's Finest Justice League team working together, but it just seemed like it was a bit of a missed opportunity. They could have done more with this crossover. It's mediocre art too, and it's a decent conclusion. Why I gave it a 7.4. Not the greatest, well, but I'll be interested to see where the next story takes us. Can't guarantee good on everything. It was, I'm not going to say it was bad by any means. It just was not as good as I expected. The next book I want to assemble a review for is Avengers Assemble number 3. Yeah, you seen what I did there. 59 out of 70 liked it with a 3.4 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave the book a 7.5. Not a terrible score. Writer is Steve Orlando, penciler Marcelo Ferreira, which I probably butchered. This book has some alternate covers. To be honest, I didn't care for any of them that much. Standard cover is probably the best one, and even that is not much said. Speaking of the cover, when I look at it, it does give me a little bit of a wrinkle, and this is not a racist rant or anything, but finally Wonder Man's going to get more attention. He's getting his own show, and they cast a black guy for him, which is not an anti thing. I just like the characters to look like they do on the page. So if this character's a black guy like Luke Cage, I want him to be played by a black guy. And here we got this. So when people read, they're gonna be like, who is this guy? This isn't Wonder Man, if they watch the show and then decide to read the books with the character in it. But then again, we'll see how that does. Anyway, She-Hulk, Wonder Man, Lightning, and Light to Speed deploy to rescue, yes, vampires. Surprise, surprise, when a new iteration of the Night Stalkers attacks a community of civilian vampires formed in New York City after the events of the Blood Hunt. The Avengers must get together to protect those very vampires. Those are people actually that were changed into vampires. They didn't have any ill intent or anything in that regard. I gave the book a 7.5. I thought it was decent art.
decent action and a decent story. I am interested in the larger story, though, that's going on in the background that's getting built with the Serpent Society. And I will say, it's nice to see more Wonder Man. I like Wonder Man. I have his individual series, his solo series, if you will. I know I'm one of the few people that do. I don't like the pacifist turn as much that they've done with that, but what can you do? You can't have it all. And I will say, I like this team lineup overall much better than the actual Avengers comic book. But that's my thoughts. I want to know, which book do you prefer, this one or the regular Avengers lineup? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that in the chat below. So for the next book, we're going to rip open that bra and bust out those double D's. Yes, Daredevil, issue number 15. I don't know what you were thinking, you perverts. 96 out of 105 like this issue with a 3.7 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave the book a solid 7.3 myself. Cover pencilers John Romita Jr. for this issue for the regular, but there is some alternate ones, and I will say some of the alternate covers, like the incentive cover, in my opinion, is much better. The writer is Saladin Ahmad, and artist is Luigi Zagaria, which I probably butchered that, and that's okay. We have the Wrath of the Devil. For months, Matt Murdock and those closest to him have been plagued by demonic entities bound to none other than Matt's soul. Yeah, now one of those demons has bound itself to one of the people Matt cares about the most. And it's not the person on the cover. Well, anyway, it's an okay story. I'm enjoying it. The art is decent within the book. The story, I will say Daredevil's going to get a good lesson in this issue. I like that. But who's behind all this in the first place? Using all these demons and these entities to take over people that he's close to. Only time will tell. And I will say, Daredevil once again gets wrecked. And that seems to be a common thing with this writer and this current story arc.
Hey guys, today's video is sponsored by My Wallet. Yeah, I'm not trying to push any kind of wallet or pimp any wallet out. What I mean is it's sponsored by my personal wallet and the cash that comes out of it to pay for these things. If you want to help with this, you can hit like, subscribe, that notification bell. Those are great ways to get started. But if you find yourself in a position where you can help the channel more, we have a Patreon and a subscribe star down below that you can click on those links. And for as little as $1 a month, you'll have special videos and things to just you, music that you can get. Or maybe if you wanted to, a one-time donation just to help out, we have a Streamlabs link down below. Or we also have, if you go to the Patreon shop, you could buy a song for like $3. I wish I could put them a little lower, but that's the minimum they allow for that. So there's lots of options. Sometimes you might even see an Amazon link. If you want to buy anything through Amazon, click on my link first, then go through there. That'll give me a couple pennies, possibly that way too as well. So there's lots of ways you can help out the channel, because without you, it would not be possible. So thank you, everybody. And let's get back to the video.
Let's shift gears and break out our laser guns. Next for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue 311. This is the original run through Image, not the Skybound one, which has, by the way, that one has been phenomenal. You need to read it. I think even if you're not a G.I. Joe fan, you should be reading it. Anyway, with this one, 35 out of 35 liked it with a 4.2 average rating. I gave it a 7.8. Yeah, so I guess we all gave this one a strong score, if you will. Larry Hama continues to be the writer for this. Artist is Chris Monahan. And anyway, Cobra Commander's trap in Springfield has been unleashed, but more things are coming. Serpentor Khan is not done as well, so the battle continues to rage as Zartan tries to save the Baroness, and the G.I. Joe crew sort of stands a little bit idle in this issue. Though this issue has great action, good art, and really it is just a fun battle issue. Pretty much that's all there is to it. Will the Baroness survive? Well, she better, because if Baroness doesn't survive, we're going to have a lot of pissed off G.I. Joe fans, if you know what I'm talking about, right? Plus, the ending of this issue is really cool because it looks like they're setting up a fight between none other than Destro versus Serpentor Khan. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll be getting the next issue. Are you reading G.I. Joe? If you are, let me know. I know that rhymed, because I'm cool like that. Let's jump back into the dark, but the man that wears white because he wants to be seen. We're going to talk about Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu, issue number 2. 170 out of 172 liked it with a 4.5 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, where I gave the book a strong 7.7. The writer is Jed McKay, artist is Alessandro Capuno, which I course, I butchered. This book does have a good cover in my opinion. I enjoy it. It has some alternate covers too. One of them with Tigra and Moon Knight is particularly pretty darn cool. So there is other options for you out there. The Midnight Mission is now reunited after the biggest surprise comic of the summer, they claim anyway. Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu issue number 0. Yeah, in other words, Mark Spector came back. Who didn't see that coming? I'm sorry, but that's no surprise. But a new era has taken shape in the Midnight Mission. But what new threats are coming? What's awaiting them? Well, somebody is pitting up foes that already know Moon Knight. So they're putting up this, a way to stop Moon Knight because they want to continue their drug ring. 8-Ball really does show some cool skills in this issue, which I can't believe that's a sentence I can't believe I'd ever say that 8-Ball would show something special. There's solid art. There's decent action in this issue. There is, though, some slow story progression in this one, but that's okay. And the big issue part, and my surprise here is, will we see Hank Pym in this series? Yeah, there's a hint that we might be getting to see Hank Pym soon because of his special scientific skills to deal with this drug and how to counteract it. And will they be able to stop this new drug lord and the new drug on the street? Only time will tell, so we must continue to read Moon Knight to find out. Now, this next book I'm going to talk about is a series that has continuously kept me happy and approved of, and it's none other than Ultimate Spider-Man number 11. Yes, 705 out of 711 liked it currently. It was a 4.5 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. I did not fudge anything there. You heard me right. This book must be selling like gangbusters, and people are really enjoying it. I also am included in that group. I gave the book an 8 out of 10. Writer Jonathan Hickman, artist David Messina. Okay, I butchered it as usual. But anyway, who is the Ultimate Black Cat? Well, really, they don't give us too much into that in this issue. We get to see her a little bit. But tensions rise between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin in the wake of recent events. Yeah, Green Goblin pulls a no-show, but crap happens. And a new villain steps up. Who will that be? What's the connections of all these characters together? You should read this one. This is one really you should not be missing out. There is great banter in this issue between MJ and Peter. The banter between those two is really sort of like a poke to the ribs, because this is showing us what we should have been having for years now, many years, in the Amazing Spider-Man book that was taken away because of poor, crappy writing and baby behavior. Yes, Peter and MJ's discussions here and the way they talk to each other just works so well. It's what Amazing Spider-Man should be. This series continues to show us what Amazing Spider-Man could be under competent direction. This is good story building. And Uncle Ben knows in this issue, and we find out, because in this series, Aunt May has passed away, Uncle Ben's alive. Ultimate Ben, Uncle Ben knows who Spider-Man actually is under the mask. And it's quite cool that he figured out, and it's like, well, of course, I'm a reporter, I'm an investigator, I notice this stuff. And what happens to Harry? Well, we're going to need to read to find out. And this, as I said, is the book. My little guy gave me a little nip there. What Amazing Spider-Man should be. So continue to read it, I suggest, because if not, you are missing out. And anyway, before I move on to the next issue, sorry about that. My little guy's less than a year old, and he gives those love bites. And he it's just pure love. This kitty's all love, but he got me right on the nipple. I'm like, ow! So I had to let him go. I set him down on the floor after that, and then let him out of the room. I like keeping these not highly edited. I think it shows a little bit of realism in life. Anyway, the last one I want to talk about is Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay number 3, where 15 out of 18 liked it with a 3.6 average rating, leaving me to believe this book is just sort of dying on the vine. And I understand why. I only gave it a 7 out of 10. The writer is Thomas Krajewski and artist is Jason Murr. Fear is taking root deep beneath the streets of New York City. Lured by the cries of a child, Groot and Hulk are forced to take a detour and venture into the dark, dank subway tunnels. Unfortunately, the underground is teeming with the newly transformed, zombie kind of creatures, and their appetites are very large. In fact, speaking of large, we're going to get Giant Man in this. And here's the thing, it's decent art, but this story is really silly. So if you're not into the more absolutely absurd, silly stories, this one isn't for you. But on top of that, the story is dragging by. It's almost like, okay, we need to pick up the pace here. You're padding this out clearly for a trade. because the depth of this story is just not there. There is decent action, but the whole problem with this is there is nothing special at all to it. Matter of fact, the standard cover is just silly. There is some alternate covers. One with Spider-Man, that's probably the best one, is with Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man's not really in this story. I can't see how this is going to attract more readers. There's not been a key issue to make you go, wow, I should have been reading this. I'm going to go back to the comic store next time and buy issue 1 and 2. It's just not there. I don't think this is going to pick up anywhere. We're probably going to see it in a trade if they even bother to do that. I can see why the sales aren't there. I would not really, I can't say go out and get this book. I might finish reading it out just to see how it pans out. There is a twist though. What they thought was what was spreading this at the very beginning. At this issue we find out, oh, wait a minute, that might not have been what actually is causing this thing to spread, causing all these people to be zombie-like. So that's an interesting take. All right, everybody, thank you. I want to once again say thank you to everybody that's continued to support this channel. Without them and their support, this channel would not be possible. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time and stick with it this long through the video as well. I greatly appreciate all of you. And let's have a kind conversation. Let's talk about some of these books that I have in my notes here. I really appreciate some of the ideas that people have given me of books that I should be checking out. I have not been just letting that go in one ear and out the other. I've been taking notes, and when I get done with my complete read-through again through the Captain America series, I'll probably start hitting those as well. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and until next time, keep it frugal.